Hi, everybody. I hope y'all are doing well. I hope y'all are having a great day today. If you're new here, I want to welcome you to School of Scarlet, the School of Unconditional Love. And if you're a returning subscriber or returning viewer, thank you so much for tuning back in. You know I love you all, and I'm so glad that you have tuned back in for today's topic. Today's topic is a very exciting one. It's a very recurring question that I get and it's around relationships. So stay tuned for that. It is a very exciting topic, and it's one that pretty much I almost recommend a one on one session because it is that complex at times. But I will be sharing all the information I can share with you through video today. But before we get started with that, I wanted to just give you guys an update about what's going on with School of Scarlet. So, School of Scarlet has started its first course, and it started its course this month. The students are doing absolutely well, and I'm blown away by the students, the caliber of consciousness that we have in this group. We haven't even really gotten started in our one-on-one sessions. We've had breakthroughs after breakthroughs, and our group sessions are happening now, and the collective consciousness within these groups is amazing. I'm learning myself from some of these individuals, and these individuals have broken through the mold. And so now they're in a group, and I'm realizing that this course is so potent that, it's amazing. So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do an offering for y'all for 10/10. So, October 10th, I want to start a new round of unconditional course. So, I only have 6 students in my current unconditional course, and they're doing phenomenal. Okay, so this course they have broken through, they're going through it now. And so this next course, I'm going to offer the same with the same container of the unconditional course, but I'm going to have a bigger space opening. So I'll have more spaces available for you this time around. Now that this one has gotten started, we can go ahead and take another one. So what I've also done is I've been very blessed to kind of pull back in my counseling business and allow for more of this unconditional course and doing more one-on-one sessions with anybody that resonates or would like to have this. So if that is resonating with you, if you feel like this is speaking to you, then please email me. My email is down below in the description box, and I have also pinned it to the first comment. You can email me there, and I have a very special offer for you today. Whether it's a one-on-one session or it's the unconditional course, just for now until September 9th, I will be offering a discount. So this discount is huge. I mean, I will not be offering this discount again. These courses will really only be going up in price. But 10/10 to me is a portal of new beginnings. And this portal is really going to push you through. And what I've seen so far in the unconditional course has been nothing short of amazing. And so I am very confident in saying that I would like to have more students in this course, and I'm willing to do it at a lower rate to allow for all the students that were initially interested in this course. So if you are interested in this course, or you were initially interested in this course and didn't take it for whatever reason, maybe finances or whatever, it has manifested into reality. If you are ready now, just give me an email saying I'm ready, and I will give you back all the information regarding the course, and I will love to have you. So I just wanted to throw that out there really quickly, and then we will get started now with our topic. So this topic is a topic that's very common. I've gotten several questions on this already, and we have quite a few one-on-one sessions kind of working. I work people through some of these complicated situations that can happen after a shift within romantic relationships or even friendships. So we're talking about what to do in relationships when maybe you've had a shift in some way, whether that's a spiritual shift, psychological shift, whatever it happens to be, and now you're not connecting with your partner anymore. Okay, you're opened up to a new reality and they're still in their own reality, and maybe they're even stuck, because a lot of people are. That's pretty normal. So you're here and this person's still stuck, and now that's not resonating with you. You're not able to play in the game of life with that person because you're ready to play, but they're not ready to play. They don't want to play. So it's kind of like we've been talking about this whole theme around play. It's kind of like when you go up, like when you were little or something, and you go up to someone and you say, I want to play, want to play cops and robbers, want to play, dinosaurs or whatever. And the other person's just like quiet, or like you could even tell, like maybe they're not even in the mood to play, or they're getting angry about it. And so, you know, that situation is kind of what this feels like, because, you kind of feel disappointed. Like, oh, they don't want to play. They're not matching your energy. So your energy is high, you're ready. And their energy is like, what in the world is wrong with you? So they're actually like projecting that possibly there's something wrong with you. But really, what's happening is they're no longer matching your energy. They were at one point whenever you guys initially met, and maybe throughout your relationship, but definitely in the beginning, you were an energetic match. We are always exuding different levels of energy and frequency or vibration. And so we attract what is similar. Like attracts like. And same thing happens within relationships and within psychology and things. It's seen that, or it's talked about that it's mostly based on comfort, on conditioning, on how the person grew up and what they're used to. They will find partners that mirror or are very similar in that sense. Now, the way I see it now after my shift is energetically, because I'm seeing the energies, right? And I'm feeling them. I've become a little bit more sensitive to it. And it's very clear to me that things are definitely vibrating at different levels. And then there's different people that are trying to play together, but they're vibrating at different levels. And play doesn't go well like that. And what ends up happening? A conflict. And it's usually a misunderstanding or something silly. No one had ill intentions, but the energy was so off that it was offensive. So this can happen, and disrespect can, it could feel like disrespect within a relationship. It can feel like you're not being valued. It could be like you're not being seen, not appreciated, and you're just not being, the other person's not engaging in life with you because they're not matching that energy. Well, maybe you're at a very high vibe and you want to go out and do things and explore or try new things or start new businesses or start new ideas. Yet the other person is just happy and content with doing whatever they want. There's nothing right or wrong about either person. It's just a different way of being right now. That same person that's vibrating at the monotonous level, there's another version of that same person where they are vibrating at the same level as you. And you can experience that person in this lifetime, in this moment. But it takes some time. It doesn't just happen overnight. They kind of have to match your energy, and it takes there's a field that we cannot see, but it's felt. Okay? It's felt. It's almost like it's giving us information. So this field is around us. And you can imagine it like a bubble. Okay, this is the bubble of the, let's say, the man. This is the bubble of the woman. It could be same sex as well. It doesn't matter. So these are whatever energetics you've carried on, your programming, growing up, whatever happened, whatever ideas, beliefs you have, values. Same thing goes for this person is in here. When y'all two merge, if y'all are at the same for levels of, the same kind of value, same kind of energy and stuff like that, then you'll match and you'll get along and you'll probably enjoy each other and maybe fall in love and get married. Okay, so these two energies and fields are now merging, and you can see they kind of like intertwined after a while, and they go into each other's field in and out. Okay, and so you'll notice, especially if you've been married with someone for a while, you'll begin to take on some of their characteristics. You'll be taking on habits and like silly things that they do, and you might even start to take on their values, or you might convert to their religion, or you might start dressing like them or talking like them. Your fields begin to merge and create like one bigger field, and you're kind of one at that point. And so that creates this thing where kind of you're at the same energy usually, so you can maintain a relationship and you're usually vibrating at the same energies because you're having the same sort of experiences. You're in that same sort of field. You have the same values. You probably go to the same church. You probably go to the same stores, you probably see the same people, you go live in the same home, all this stuff. So you're going to become very similar with this person, yet very different at the same time. It could be a paradox, but but you have a lot of similarities within the field. And so when you shift into a different reality, like let's say I did, or anybody who has had a shift, when that happens, you're whatever this bubble that you had with this person is basically you eject. You're no longer having the same values, belief systems, anything as this person, because yours have fallen away or have changed. So now this person's left here like, what happened? You know? And this person's here happy, blissful, and just like, why don't you come join me? But neither one is understanding yet because they haven't merged their fields yet. There hasn't been that time for that to happen. So while you're in that state of shifted and this person's not, just allow them some grace. They're not going to see things the way you see things right away. You're not going to see things the way they see things anymore. There's going to be some conflict, and it can be hard. It can be really, really hard. So if you're really experiencing a lot of distress and all this with this, you can find someone. It's kind of like finding counseling. You can find counseling, get a one-on-one session. I work through these myself and kind of work through this together. And that can actually make you stronger and can actually begin to show the other person how to love themselves more and actually actualize them. It's a very beautiful process. And the only way that I know this is because I decided to stay in my relationship with my husband. And I also experienced what I just talked about, the shift, and not really resonating with anything about like all these values and things and just all these rules and things. I no longer saw that as important. So I was in this camp and he was in this camp, and it was not okay. But with grace and patience from both sides, we were we were able to just kind of slowly, without having to do a whole lot, patiently get to know each other again, basically almost as new people. And as he began to know me again in a different way, I noticed some things began to rub off on him. His relationships with certain situations began to improve. Our relationship actually began to improve. After we had that conflict, a little bit of time passed, then it began to improve. So there is a time, it's going to be very difficult. And so in this time, it's important not to give up on yourself. You've had this shift. You've seen what reality is. And so you really should see now what's happening. Everything is a projection or a mirror of what's happening within. And so that person's actually just mirroring to you some issues and things that are still lingering. And they can still linger. And so when we give it grace, patience, and just love, we begin to see what it is actually and deal with it. And it's usually something that we didn't know we were still hanging on to. Then we can drop that. And it's not hard to drop that because you've shifted. It's very easy to drop it. Once you identify it and you see it, you recognize it and it drops. So it's nothing like therapy or anything hard. It's just recognizing it and, oh, that's where we had the issue, and it falls away. And for the other person, believe it or not, they don't have to do a lot of work. You do the work, or you stay strong in your beliefs of who you know you are now because you've seen the truth, and that person will join you. That's how that happens, but it will take some time. I don't know, for most people it seems like this time is like 6 months. So it's not a long time. The people I've worked with, 6 or 7 months. I know it sounds like a long time, but it's not a long time in, let's say, what marriage is, 60 years or more, whatever, in a lifetime. So that's not that long. So if we just give it this patience and time for us to really get embodied and integrated in our shift, and the other person to see our grace and just plain love for them, then things will begin to improve. One of the things that can happen is to like criticize, the other person for their choices or the way that they make choices, or maybe their attachment to things, because we're no longer attached to things anymore. But you have to realize that most people are. They're very attached to things. My husband's very attached to his toys, his cars, his boat, everything, to his friends, to his church group, everything. And everything's such a big deal. If he loses, if anything happens, such a big deal. But, for me, after this shift, I don't see things that way. I see everything as if something ends, it's an opportunity for a new beginning. So that kind of moves me into my next kind of thing that could happen. And that would be, if you're not going to, if you just don't flat out feel that you don't want to stay in that relationship, it's not working for you. Maybe there was abuse. Maybe that person has now become even more abusive, or, whatever happens, whatever the case, you don't want to be in that relationship anymore. This is where I get the questions where people are asking, how can I end this? How can I get out of this? What can I do when there's no one here? Meaning they've had the non-dual shift and they don't feel like a sense of self. Well, you do what you've always done. You take the best decision that you know. Go in your heart. You can even just flat out ask the question, what should I do in my relationship? And sit with it in your heart for a minute. Open your eyes and the answer will come. If it doesn't come, give it more time. But an answer will come that will seem like that is the more preferred answer. And that's coming from your heart. And you can decide. All you have to do is decide. I hear all these things, people coming to me about cutting energetic cords, doing, some kind of magic, or, they have to go through some religious system to break this bond. No, all you have to do is decide. You create this. Everything is happening from within to out. And so when you decide, that is will. That is what is will. That is what is meant to happen. So once you decide that you no longer want this relationship, it's over. The only thing that could still remain is if you leave the roots of the relationship. So in a relationship, you're two people and you're getting along, and you can be like friends, and it can feel like a friendship. And what's happened, and I've noticed a lot lately, is that people will separate, divorce, break up, whatever, and they will still remain friends, or they will still check up on, I hear about checking, they're constantly looking at Facebook, Instagram, or whatever the social media that the other person had. So they're basically like stalking them, and they're talking about them, they're still wanting to be friends with them, or, they have all this still going. If it's possible, meaning you don't have children with that person or something, you want to remove the roots and get rid of it, because you're no longer in that relationship. You want to be free so that you can move on to the next best thing. If you have any little roots still there, that can grow back into you thinking about that person, into you talking to that person. So if you're done, you have to make sure you're done. So when you decide, it has to be a final decision. Okay. And if you still have to remain with that person in some fashion because maybe you have children or something like that, then in that case, you are just going to energetically protect yourself from that person. You're going to make sure that your paradigm, your roots, are rooted in what you are, rooted in truth. And so you stay close to your truth, and there's nothing to sway that. Once you decide, you decide. So it's a hard process to decide, even after a shift, if you have not completely decided. So if there's something still there, if you're still asking this question, especially if you've like emailed me or something like that, this question is still something that you're not sure of. You're still in resistance to. So it's like you don't feel good in this relationship because maybe they're not mirroring what you want them to mirror, what you think they should mirror to you. You maybe see clearly now and see disrespect or maybe issues within that relationship. And that's completely valid. Yes, it hurts. It can feel crummy to be wanting a relationship with someone that you had a good relationship with, but then you had this shift and now you notice all the junk that really you had been neglecting. Really, we can come to terms with the fact that there has been things that have happened or, not served us. And that's okay. That's part of life. Every relationship has that. Every relationship. No matter how perfect social media looks, every relationship has these issues because our relationship is actually where we work out our deepest, darkest issues. It is the place where we can safely play. It is the place where we can safely um, do our inner work, our therapy. That's one thing in therapy is if people are in a good, healthy or in a relationship, it doesn't necessarily have to be very. I said healthy, but it doesn't have to necessarily be very healthy. It has to be that they're in a relationship where they feel safe and secure, meaning like their needs, basic needs, are taken care of. Then they can now they can move out of survival and they can start to begin working on inner work, therapy, and things that they may, need for themselves. And so that can begin to happen, but you have to have that level of safety in a relationship, that like safety net. And then you can feel safe to do that. So in that relationship, you're going to be mirrored back all of these things that really you have some part in that. They're not just appearances. They are appearances, but they're energetic appearances that are matching the energies that you've been carrying at that moment. And it's possible to still carry energies that are not in line with unconditional love at all times. There are times that I don't feel good. There are times that I'm upset. There are times that I feel low. And that moment is there. And in that moment, a conflict can arise. You know, it's very possible, and it's anything can arise in any moment. Just because you've shifted does not mean that you're free from everything. Things begin to get a lot easier, but miscommunication, people not feeling good, irritability, all of this can still happen. Nothing wrong with it. It is part of relationships. It is part of giving each other grace for when you're not feeling so well and being the helper for your mate when they're not feeling good. And, they will do the same for you. They will be that mirror. If you're doing that for them, they will do that for you. Now, if they're not doing that for you, if you're noticing a lot of abuse, maybe you feel disrespected to a very deep level or something like that, let's examine that. Look into that. See what's happening there. We can also be in the wrong relationships and friendships due to the energetics we had when we met them. So, for example, the majority of my friends came from meeting them in like primary school and middle school and some in high school. So these friends I met when I was like younger. I mean, that was a whole nother person then, it feels like. And then, my first husband, I met him when I was like 19 or something like that. So that was a long time ago. And now my husband now, we met years ago. So I was a different person then with different energies that were happening, different views of life. So we match energy. So I attracted him as that version of myself. But I'm no longer that version of myself. And so I've changed and he's probably changed too. That's natural, that's normal. What begins to happen is those big shifts can make things uncomfortable. Midlife crisis, all these things we hear about when people just like everything shifts and these relationships kind of crumble. They don't necessarily need to crumble. But if you met someone at a time where maybe you were a whole nother person, and that is every moment, we are actually different. But so it's kind of a given. You've met that person at a whole nother energetic level at who knows what you were living like at that time. So that person may not be a match to you if they haven't shifted or grown with you. So one of the biggest indicators of a relationship that will grow and will stay together is a relationship that's growth minded. So if the husband and the wife, or whatever it happens to be, are both growth minded individuals, meaning that they're not stagnant. They're not like, okay, this is the way we've always done things and they're going to stay this way. If they're not that kind of person, if they're open, they're like, whoa, what happened? Like, tell me about it. Let's work through this. I want to help you. I want to be part of this. If they're open, then we have a bigger, greater chance of miracles and magic happening to where this person can kind of match you. And that would be amazing, right? So it can happen. It can happen. But it to take some time, like I said, because there's so much more going on than we realize. We are so multidimensional, so much so. I mean, there's just, it's endless. So there's so many components that I can't even go into here. And even if I did, they would make no sense. So there are many things happening at this time, and you have to give a little bit of time, even though time is just relative to this, for it to all merge, and then they will start to shift. But again, if you met them at that energetic level that you're just saying now, oh man, I just was a whole nother person then, maybe back then you were using drugs or something like that, and maybe this person is still using drugs, and that's going to be a real hard thing to break through for that person. I'm not going to say it's impossible, because nothing is impossible. We can work on that, but it will definitely feel like this heavy burden, like it's impossible. But it's not impossible. But if you do decide, it's your decision. If you decide that that person you're no longer vibing with, they're no longer a match to you, then you can decide to cut every cord or every root with them, or whatever you want to call it, and end it. But what can happen is, if that was a mirror, if that whatever you didn't like that was left there with that person, if that was actually just a reflection of something that's still lingering in you to come out, then that's only just going to show up again and again in patterns in other relationships. It could show up in your friendships, or it could show up literally in every relationship that you get involved in. So you have to kind of decide, what do you want to do? Do you want to work out? Do you want to be reflected back by this person, or would you just want to be alone, or do you want to just leave it alone, get out of that, be alone, and see what happens from there? Because, as soon as you decide, that leaves space for new beginnings, meaning that a new person can come in. Again, you may experience it all over again, the issues you had with that person. But most likely, because you've had the shift within yourself, you won't be a match to that. But there was something that was lingering, or there is something still lingering within that person that you left, because there was still some sort of conflict there. We have conflict still after a shift, but if it's a deep one, then we got to look at that. What is it? You just at least look at it, because as long as we look at it, then it'll go away. That's as simple it is as it is. It doesn't have to be scary. We just got to look at it. See, what is it? Oh, okay, I see it now. Especially if you've had a shift, because you recognize these things so quickly. But anyhow, if you decide this, again, it's all about what you want for yourself. We can't abandon ourselves, okay? Yes, there is no individualized, personal, finite self here. Okay, that's not the case. But we live and we feel like we're in this body. And so we have to make decisions for what's best for this body, for this individual, for this character at the time. So things are going to begin to happen where you're not going to be that character anymore that you once were. And maybe your partner's not going to like that. So let's say it's that situation. Let's say that you were the character that liked to do drugs together and liked to hang out and party with your partner and all of these things. All of a sudden you shifted, and now you dropped all of that. Now you're going to school, you're getting your degree, you're working on your goals and your dreams and whatever. You're on your path. And this person's still here, and they don't like that, because they want the character that's going to play with them. They want the character that's in the movie with them, that's doing drugs with them, that's having fun with them. They don't want the character that they don't want to be. So they're playing, you can see it as a movie role. They're playing their role perfectly. And all of a sudden you switched it up. You don't fit in this movie anymore. And it can be a conflict. It can be an issue, because now you are all, loving and moving along into doing all these things that you're coming into wholeness. And this person is still very broken. But again, like I say, if we give it some time with some guidance and things like that, these two that person can match you, and it can happen. But if you don't want to do that, you don't have to. You can decide. This life is all really about you and your decisions and what you want to do. Of course, there's no one really deciding, but the will that you have, whatever you will, is God's will. It's all seamlessly together. It's all one. There's no distinctions in this. So, whatever you want for yourself, make sure that you're showing up for yourself and doing what you want for you. Are you the main character in your movie? Or are you playing a side role, a supporting role in somebody else's movie? If you are playing a supporting role in somebody else's movie, what can you do to become the main character now in your own movie? What can you do? What do you want to do? Maybe you can't find friends or family or even relationships that resonate with you. That's okay. I couldn't find that either. I live in a small town in Texas, and everybody here is very, they love to go to church. They're very Christian based. And, that's how my family is. That's how my husband is. And so he likes to go to a lot of events with people and they like to gossip and, all of this stuff. And of course, I don't like to do that anymore. Everything's shifted for me. It just, it doesn't make sense. But at the same time, I know that I am the star of my own movie. I can sometimes go into that world, and play in that world. But at the end of the day, I'm still choosing what I want for myself. I don't abandon myself just for all my husband's values or issues, or not issues, or beliefs. I stay true to what I still believe. And I show that to him, and I show him how important it is that he respect that. And he will. And so what's happened is the relationship only gets deeper and deeper. Relationships can be very hard sometimes, even before the shift or before anything, just in general. Relationships can be difficult. And they don't have to be, though. They can be very easy. So we got to do this mindset shift of thinking relationships are easy. Yes, in the past they seem so hard, but the truth of them is they're not hard, they're easy. And so if we think about them that way, they become easy. They become easier for us to navigate. We have to drop a lot of things, complaining or criticizing, because in the beginning, especially if you've had a shift, you can really see the errors that other people are making. I see them constantly. And I honestly, at this point, it's kind of become like, I don't really like that. I don't really like to see the errors that everybody's making, because that also hurts, me, because I don't want to see people like that. But at the same time, I don't want to, mess with them and their free will. Everybody has to make their own decisions for themselves. Okay, so we have to respect that. So I respect my husband, and if he wants to go to church, if he wants to go with his friends, if he wants to do this, I respect him with that, and he does that. And every so often I dabble in that, but I decide. I decide what I do. And so if your partner does not allow for that, if your partner is just too far off from what you are, you can either give them grace and stay there and see what begins to change, because something will, or you can choose and decide something different. And if you do, and whatever you do, make sure that you are the star of your movie. Okay? And make sure that you have some people around you that do value you. Whether that's just talking to someone online, joining a message board, or somewhere where you can be around people that are like minded and have had similar experiences to you. Because a lot of times, what these experiences are of shifting, of non duality, of unconditional love, no one resonates with that. YouTube is a great platform because even though there's a small amount of people that are resonating with it, at least we can find our tribe this way. And so you can get on YouTube, maybe start a message board. I don't know. There's so many different things with social media. I don't use a lot of social media, so I don't know, but I'm sure there's like Facebook groups and other things. Get involved with like minded people so that you can have some place to express yourself authentically as well. Because maybe within your relationship, it feels a little bit constricted. And it feels like that to me sometimes, because if I want to talk about something, I'll begin to talk about something that I truly want to talk about. And all of a sudden, it's too deep. Or it's like, whoa, like they don't want to talk about it, especially not a man. So it just depends. I mean, I shouldn't say that. There's many men that I've talked to that like to talk about deep things, or especially now that I've started, YouTube and stuff like that. So I shouldn't say that, but generally, men don't talk as much as women and that sort of thing, and all that. But so, he doesn't want to talk about that stuff all the time, especially not all the time. So where can I go where I can express myself with other people that are like-minded? And we are so blessed by the internet and how vast uh, connections we can have through this internet, that it's completely open to us. We could be talking to someone in India, and it's okay. Maybe it's virtual, but maybe one day, if this relationship evolves even further, you could go in person. So distance is also an illusion. This is all an illusion. Everything is within you. All these relationships are actually within you. They're actually just being projected out. And so you got to work and play with all these relationships and kind of just play the game of life with them. I've always been a person that likes to go really deep into things. That's one of the reasons that I got into psychology, and I talked about being a child and how I was very quiet and always observing people and trying to understand why they did the things that they did. I never really understood it, and I still don't really understand some things, but I understand a lot of things about relationships and how those work, because I'm very curious about that. Let's say I begin to have a problem in my relationship. Well, I want to examine it. I want to see what it is. I want to see where it started, where it came from. So I'm a person that goes deep into these things. So where some people might want to get away from it, I like to go into it. And so ever since, I started going deeper into those spaces that seem scary, I've learned a lot about myself, not even my partner, about myself, because it's all about you. It's the funniest thing. And it's also can be very painful as well. So I'm not going to say this process is easy. So if you need any support, I offer one-on-one sessions as well. So I wanted to also talk about, let's see, I got something coming through on my phone. So I also want to talk about just experiences in life and just remembering back the things that our experiences have taught us, okay? So the next thing I want to talk about is how life just teaches us anyway. Life teaches us already by itself. It's already teaching us throughout our life. So for example, when my first marriage ended, it ended very spontaneously. Like I was not expecting it. It just ended from one day to the next, and so that experience was not easy, to be shocked that much by what happened, and to just suddenly the relationship end. Okay, and so that was very shocking to me, but I grieved a little bit, there, but at the same time, I knew that I had a new beginning coming. Yeah, I could just feel it. It just felt right. And so there was some sadness there, but I felt that things were going to change, and, life goes on, and all the beautiful memories that I had were all still there. I had beautiful memories in my marriage. I had beautiful memories. I had the blessing of having my daughter in that marriage. I had the blessing of so many beautiful memories that we had. And what I realized in that, and just thinking through all those memories and just everything that had happened, was that the beauty was not outside of me. The beauty was within me. The beauty was not going to leave because that relationship was over. The beauty was with me. I didn't leave the beauty. I created those beautiful moments. I was part of that. I chose that. So those beautiful moments never leave. I have them. But what's even greater is the beauty. All of these things never leave you. Everything is with you. You are everything. You are love. You are joy. You are everything. All these wonderful things and the not so wonderful things. You're all of them. So you never lose any part of yourself at all. You never lose any power, any part of yourself, nothing. It feels that way, and that's subconscious. So if you're subconscious, if you're just thinking, if you haven't had a shift or you're just not conscious to your subconscious, yeah, you're going to feel like a victim, and you're going to play this role of this person did me wrong, and you're going to talk bad about this person probably for the rest of your life. This is going to be a loop. This is going to be something you're always talking about, how this person did you wrong, that victim mentality. But it doesn't have to be that way. That's a distortion. That's not the truth. That's something that's not true. Okay? What's true is that you are everything and you can never lose anything. So even though that relationship seems like it ended, all it did was give space for something greater that's coming. It's not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing at all. So along my life I've learned that. I've realized, wow, I had a great like first marriage, up until like it literally ended. I had no clue that there was any issues. I was very happy in that marriage. And my daughter was happy. Everything was good. Yes, it's very sad that we are now separated in this way. Okay? But we're not actually separated. Okay? You never lose anything. Everything is always with you. Everything that you had that was beautiful, it's still with you. You didn't lose it. So now we move on to other things, relationships like friendships and stuff like that. We have to realize that when we lose friendships or they end, it's just a space for a new beginning. I actually did lose a lot of my friends from high school because I no longer resonated with their victim mentalities. All they wanted to hang, every time I would hang out with them, they wanted to talk about their problems and this and that, and I would help them through it. And I enjoyed doing that. And like I say, in the process, I was being patient with them. And the relationship began to evolve, and it was okay, but it wasn't deep enough for me to want to continue it. It had grown. I'm not going to say it didn't, but it wasn't what I wanted anymore. It seemed to me that I was ready to make space, and so it sounds probably kind of harsh to anybody that hasn't shifted, but I was ready to make space for new friends. And so I had to let go of those friends. And now I didn't let go of them by saying anything mean to them or doing anything. I just simply stopped talking to them and they removed themselves. So the universe is constantly doing everything already. This is all just happening. Of course, it is our will when we make these decisions and things like that, and it's aligned. So, whatever you decide is perfectly accepted. But what's happening is just happening. It's always growing, evolving, changing. So, these friends that fall away, they just remove themselves, and then another one comes in, and you learn something different, and you have a different experience. So, I'd like you to really look at your life and see how your relationships are they very stagnant, meaning that they're always the same? Nothing really happens. They're very closed. Maybe the partner is very closed, things like that. Maybe the friend is just dreaming and wanting everything to be back how it used to be, or the partner wants everything to be back how it used to be. Well, one thing that you can begin to do, and it kind of sounds kind of crazy, but is to really break patterns, break lots of patterns. So if you do things one way, start doing them a different way. If you always go out to eat at this one Italian restaurant, now start going out to eat at this, I don't know, American restaurant. Switch things up. Maybe you never sing, let's start singing. Do what authentically comes for you, like a child. Start playing with your partner and friends, and they'll begin to connect a little deeper with you. And that connection and that energy, they'll be able to match it more, because in play, we can all play. It's very simple. If we can get someone to play with us, then they can match our energy, because play and unconditional love, which is probably the energy that you're in, if you're shifted, is what you're in. And this person's probably very low, but then once they start playing, getting excited, they're going to come up here and match you. And then you're going to develop more of that friendship on the level that you're desiring, more of that relationship at the level that you're desiring. But you're going to have to make the first move. It's all coming from you. So you're going to have to make the first move. You're going to have to switch up patterns. You're going to have to start being yourself. If there's things you didn't want to share with your partner and now you want to, start sharing with them. If you've wanted to travel, if you wanted to do anything, it's time. Start doing what you've wanted to do, and start playing with your partner. Start breaking patterns with them so that their mind begins to open. Some people's mind begins to get very hardened, rigid, and in these patterns that become programming, robots. We need to shift things around. When we do that, the energy moves. That's why kids or children, they're always like moving their bodies and stuff like that. It shifts, it moves energy. When we're stiff and we don't move and we do the same things like robots every day, our energy is so stagnant. It has no flow. It can't move. So we could be like stuck. We're stuck. in whatever energies we're carrying. You know, a lot of times that's grumpiness, that's anger, all kinds of weird things. So, what to do? Move, switch it up, break the patterns, be yourself. Okay. And so everything's coming from within. So, whatever you desire, you have the power to will into existence. So we're no longer players in this game. We're creators in this game. We can create anything. Of course, we're not creating it. We're actually just shifting into that energy because everything already exists here and now in this moment. So you can do that. And so, what I want to share with you is really just again, follow your heart, discern, go inside your heart. What would you like to do? Would you like to give this person more grace, more time, and more of that possibility of maybe you bringing in some of that energetic, mixing it up kind of thing and seeing if they can match you? Or do you want to leave them behind and do your own thing? Nothing wrong with that. If there is something still left there, a lesson or whatever that, energetically you need to learn, another partner will come in with the same old story. It's just how things work. And I've seen this time and time again in counseling. I've seen it, within my own life, within my friend's life, within everything. There is no denying, how these things work within relationships. And so we can begin to see those patterns. What is new to me is what happens after the shift and how you can really bring your partner's energy up to what you are. And so between my husband and I, we've really worked through a lot of things. And, some of those things have been hard, some of them have been painful. We are very different individuals. But, through unconditional love, through play, through these things, we can match each other. And the unconditional love can be experienced there. So I wish you all the best. If you have any questions, if you desire a 101, or if you're interested in my unconditional course starting on 1010, please feel free to email me at my email, schoolofscarlett@gmail.com, down below, and we can get in contact that way. Y'all are beautiful. Y'all are wonderful. I love you. I hope that you express your light. Don't dim your light for anyone. Everything outside of you is the appearances. What's true is within. So we're not giving our power, we're not giving ourselves to illusions. We are true. We know what's true. We go within. It's all within. So I love you. I hope y'all have a good rest of y'all's day. And if you like this channel and want to see more of my content, please subscribe. Thanks so much for watching.